Monitoring the budget. Monitor the budget to identify variances between planned and actual cost of activities. There are two questions we're going to ask in this step is that how much money was spent and how much more is available. After all, it's important to know if we got the funds that we need in order to complete all the project activities. For that, we're going to look at earned value analysis, and then we're going to discuss some of the variances from what happened in the project between what was planned and what actually happened. Earned value analysis, here's a definition, is the method of measuring a project progress at any given point in time, forecasting its completion date and final cost, and analyzing variances in the schedule and budget as the project proceeds. Let's look at our project account so we can have a better understanding how we're going to use earned value. When we develop our plan, we identified that for each activity, we allocated some cost. Here's the total. And in our plan, we knew how much time we had and how each one of these activities will eventually be spent over time. Once we implement the project and we want to make an analysis of where we are, let's assume right now that we are right here, right in the middle of the project. And what I want to know is how much money I've got left. So I know what is my total budget, and then I get information from my accounting system. All the expenditures, all the purchases are tracked by my accounting system, and they will tell me how much money I got left. So that is how much money I have left. So it's easy to know what is my balance. Just looking at the project right now, I can see that we seem to be in a good shape. We should have spent 500,000. We spent 600, and we got a balance of 400. From here, the information seems to be okay. After all, one of the problems in development project is that not necessarily overspending, but underspending. So from just this quick view, it seems that your project doesn't have much of a problem. But let's look at earned value, what it does. In earned value, what we're trying to do is that we are adding this information. That is the percentage of completion on each one of those activities. And when I calculate that with the budget that I have what is called earned value. That is the value of what the project has actually delivered in terms of outputs or outcomes. And when I calculate that value from the information I get on the percentages of completion of each activity, here's the total value of that I have. When I compare to what I was supposed to be, I see that I am having a difference. And that difference is important for us. And we'll see that in the next slide. Here's the slide where we can create a graph between the planned value in blue and my actual cost. Here we see the difference between those two values. We are halfway through the project. We have the blue line telling us how much we are planning to spend, and the red line tells us where we are in terms of expenses in the project. But when I look at earned value, here in the green line, we can see that is below to what we plan, meaning many things in terms of how we can then use that information to help us understand where is the project in terms of its budget. Let's summarize what we've seen so far. We have our total project budget in an example of 1 million. The planned value at 6 months was planned to be 500. Our actual cost at 600. Our progress to date is only 40%, which represents an earned value of 400. So I have here my chart with all those values and all those differences. We're going to use the first concept in earned value is called cost variance. Cost variance tells us how much we are over or under budget. The formula is earned value minus the actual cost. And using the numbers from our example, 400 minus 600 is a negative 200. This tells us the project is over budget. That is telling us that we are now producing less value at a higher cost. And if we continue that, we're going to practically run out of money before we bring all the value into the project. The other calculation that also helps us is the cost performance index, CPI. It tells us about the efficiency of the cost utilized on the project. The formula is earned value divided by actual cost. Here's the formula. When I apply that with my examples, I get a CPI of 0.67. What it means? Since the cost performance index is less than 1, this means the project is earning 67 for every dollar in spending. It means that it is costing us more to produce the work than we actually planned. CPI is an important tool. You can also graph it, and as you start making progress on each of your reporting periods, you can use it to track how the CPI is moving across the project. And from there, you can identify the moments when your CPI is way below zero, right here and here, and those are the warning signs that demand immediate attention to identify why we're having problems, why the project is costing us more, or why we're having the delays that are causing that problem. Let's look again at what some of those tools can help us do that. One of those tools is also forecasting. Based on the rate of how we're spending money and what are the values that we're getting, what will happen if we continue in that trend. So we're going to use what is called estimate at completion. The estimate at completion, or EAC, gives you the forecasted value of the project when it's complete. It tells how much you may have to spend to complete the project. The formula is here, and when I plug in my values, I get this final result. What it means is that if the project continues to progress with the same CPI until the end, you will need to spend more money than you originally planned in order to complete and deliver all the activities that were planned in the project. When I chart this information, this is what I see. If I continue with that CPI, I can then extrapolate that value until the end of the project, which is month 12, and that will be the cost that will need to be spent in order to complete the project. These tools that you've seen are basically helping you make decisions early in the project. There is no value using these tools when you are already late and there are a lot of problems and the cost is very difficult to recover. The idea of using these tools is that they help you make certain specific decisions ahead of time, meaning before those problems become unmanageable. Let's look at some of the causes for those variances between plan and actual. Again, it's the estimates. There could be changes in the time when we were estimating for the project design and the proposal, and by the time we're implementing, this estimate might not fit reality. There could also be changes in market prices, whether they're going up or down, including some progress not recorded. Remember that earned value depends on how we are delivering, and if the team is not reporting accurately the information, then that might have an impact. Also, an important element is that some expenses might not be allocated properly, especially when you're talking invoices and purchase orders. That happens when we know that we are spending some money in the project, but it usually does not reflect in our budget. We might think that we have the money that we need to complete the project, but eventually we're surprised to find out later that a lot of that money was already committed in invoices or purchase orders, and that reduces the flexibility that we have in our budget. Another element that is also important to find the difference between what we plan to spend and how much we spend is inventory. Usually inventory does not take into account when you are calculating earned value. Earned value is calculated for all the activities that are being completed. For example, I am completing a school and I am building the walls, but in inventory I may have 100 bags of cement. I cannot use that value to represent what is actually implemented or is built. If I only get paid for how much is built, then I'm going to be able to only uh, collect as earned value the construction that is physical and that the beneficiaries or the group or the teams that are in charge of that can actually physically count it. But the inventory, which are items I already spent, they are not reflected in that calculation of earned value. So that's an important element also to have a good understanding, so you can find in these areas where you might have some variances between where you are in terms of what you plan and what are the actual costs.